Hello, I'm Daryl, and this is Programming in Any Language. We are working with C# right now, but the principles are the same in all languages. Master these principles, and you can easily jump to any other language quickly. We last coded the basic math functions, but we didn't finish. Division worked, but it did not provide a remainder. We need to get that in place. We also need to complete the instructions for the user. That's going to require a continue button and a few more instructions. And those instructions should only appear when they are actually needed. Take a look at how all this is set up. The thing about division, though, let's run this again real quickly. 1 divided by 10 gives us the 10. That works fine. Run it again. Put a 10 in there. 7 divided by 5 is a 1. That's true. But the remainder is missing. What we need here is we need something that's going to put our remainder down in place only for division. So let's go ahead and do that next. We do that by going into our form and adding a label similar to this. We'll just do a copy here and then paste it in this area. And by using the same controls we have over here, we can see our properties are the same, and we got the same properties here. So we've got that, and we call it LBL remainder. We made it the name. Let's give it a little thing on top by putting the name remainder up on top of here and put that in place. And that looks good too. The difference is that we're going to have to basically give this a name because we don't want this thing to appear unless the remainder is actually going to be showing there. So we need to give that a name so it only appears when we're doing division. Same thing with this. We need to give this thing a name, which we have. LBL remainder is fine right there. And so let's go ahead and do that next. We'll need to give this guy, we have this guy as a name or LBL remember. This one we want to be able to talk to in code too, because we make these things invisible or whatever when we get to them. So we're going to have to give it a name as well. We can call it LBL remainder. We already have an LBL remainder out there. So we're going to call this thing LBL remainder 2. This for lack of anything else that we might be able to call it. And then we can start to assign these things. By the way, are these things invisible or invisible? Now I want the start button. I want the remainder piece. This thing is set for. The visibility is true on here, and this one is also true. We want to make sure we make these set to false so they don't appear when we're actually running this division. We want, in fact, where is it now? Now we'll go down a little further here. Visible is going to be false, and we're going to make this particular label false as well, so it doesn't appear when we're doing normal math. We're doing division, and we want to turn that thing on. That's going to be up to this division thing right here. So we need to do a few more things to it. So let's go into our division sign at this point in time. It's already doing the division piece, but it needs to do the mod piece, which is going to give us the remainder. So what we'll do is we'll say, we're going to need to create a variable in here to hold the remainder. So we're going to set that up first. So we'll set up something called remainder variable. And then we'll simply say int remainder. I'll make that equal to 0. And give a space in there just so we have it in there. So it's not being used at all. Now what we want to do is we want to go ahead and do our math on this thing. So we're going to say that int remainder if I could spell, it'd be helpful, is equal to int first number mod int second number. And then we'll simply say that LBL remainder dot text is equal to remainder to string. We also want to turn on the remainder, so we'll say that the LBL remainder dot visible is equal to true, and we need to turn on the remainder 2 label, which is also going to be 2 dot visible is equal to true. There we go. And that should turn those things on. And now we should be able to test our programs. Do a file save, do a run. Do our 10, do a start, 3 divided by 1, let's try this. 0 pops up with a remainder of 1. And that seems to be correct, so that seems to be working now. What we want to do with this thing is we want to be able to now have a continue button in here, which is going to allow us to first continue for a new set of numbers. What we need to do, we need to take in place here. So let's go ahead and work on that next. We're going to simply say exit to this thing, go to our form, adjust this a little bit. We can bring this thing down, and let's put a new button in there. And how big is that button going to be? Well, we can make it the entire length of this thing if we want. So we could probably make a copy of the start button and put it up in here. Bring it down and then stretch it out so that it covers the length of the operation buttons. Change the label inside here to say continue. Change this visibility property to false, so it's not on. And then we need to turn it on whenever we get to this particular thing. How are we going to do that? Well, let's think about this. Each operation is going to need to turn this button on when it's completed. So let's go into the operation buttons. Oh, we need to name this thing first right away, so let's do that. We'll call it button continue. And now we're going to go into the operation buttons with plus right here. And we're simply going to say that after each one of these things, btn continue dot visible is equal to true. And then we'll copy this little guy here and put it into every other element down here. The subtract button, the multiply, and the oops, that's not the multiply. And the divide. You can kind of, we'll do a file save here to kind of see where we're going next. But if you look at this thing right now, we now come in and we can give ourselves a 10, hit our start button. That pops up. 9.6, if we do an operation of some kind, we'll do an add, and bang, it gives us a 15 and it says continue. Continue is going to generate the next set of numbers. Now, if you think about this, the continue button has to do much of what the start button did, except start. It doesn't have to generate the random number generator. So to build this thing, all we really need to do is copy a lot of the code from the start button to make this happen. So let's go ahead and do that. If we look at our start button, and we can do that by jumping over to it, we can see that the start button has a bunch of things in it. It does have a try and catch and all that kind of stuff. We don't have to worry about bringing in a number anymore because we already have the number from text. We already set up the random number generator is all there. But this part right here, actually creating the next one and displaying the numbers, is going to happen. We're also going to want to enable the operation buttons. And we're going to want to, we don't have to remove the start buttons because they're gone already. So just this part we can kind of grab. So we'll do Control C here. We'll go to our form, start our button, our continue button here, which is named, I hope. It is. And so we can go right, double click on to create the event and do a Control V, and that will put all these pieces in there. So let's see what that did, if that's perfectly fine here. We've got a little error right here in the random piece. And that's because what's happening is the random number generator that we set up initially in the start button is local to the start button. So we do need this piece as well. We do need to generate the random number piece and set that up. So we'll do a Control C here, and then we'll go to our form and go back to our continue button and add this right up on top. And that should get rid of our error. So now we're in good shape again. So that is working. Do a file save. Do a run. And at this point, put in our 10. Start. 6. Divide. Whatever we want to do. Any operation we can. It's all gone right now. We have to do something. We have to press continue for these set of numbers. Or simply do our operation. So what we'll do is we'll hit plus. And we get the 9 here. And the continue button pops up. So we'll hit continue. And it generates a new set of numbers. It didn't clear this out though. And we probably want it to clear this out. So let's make that happen. Go to our continue. In fact, to make this nice and clean, let's go right up on the top here. And let's actually go ahead and do an LBL first number. Dot text is equal to quote quote. Then we know nothing's going to be in there. We'll also take LBL second number dot text and make that equal to quote quote. And we'll take the answer, LBL answer dot text, and make that equal to quote quote. And that cleans that little piece up there. So now it should be totally clear when it actually brings up the new number. Okay, we're going to need one more set of instructions in here. This is playing press continue, but we don't have the instruction of what to actually do for the operation. So what I'll do is I'll make a copy of this thing. What do we call this thing? We're calling this thing LBL4. Let's call it LBL instruction. Oh, we'll name it after we make a copy of this thing. Let's do a Control C here and just do a Control V up here real quickly. Bring it up here and change the wording on this thing to be we'll call it press the operations button to display an answer. And leave it at that. That changes that thing perfectly fine. Now we want to give this thing a name, so we're going to call this thing LBL instructions. We're not going to keep it up there. LBL instructions. And we're going to call this one LBL instructions too. And we want to set the visibility of both of these to false. And this one as well, false. We also want to put them on top of one another, because they'll be in the same area. In fact, let's go ahead and can we get both? Now let's just kind of put them like this. I think that's pretty close to being on top of one another. Or we could adjust them. I probably can just go like this. And that's going to get them together. That's right. Okay, let's go ahead and format. Make same size, both. And then let's format, align their centers, their middles. I think. Yeah. And then we want to format them and place them in the horizontal spacing. Format, center, and form horizontally. There, they're perfectly fine now, sitting in that spot. They're roughly, okay, they're looking fine at this point in time. So they're both going to be invisible. Now, when are we going to turn them on? Well, when we hit, let's see. When we hit start, everything pops up here. So the start button wants to turn on, I think it's going to turn on the second one, the first one, the instructions one. So let's go into our start button here and see what we've got. If we look at the start button, in fact, we can do these as a pair. The start button, once it turns off, it can turn on the LBL instructions. Instructions.visible is equal to true. And to save us some copy pasting time, we could say that the LBL instructions 2 dot visible is equal to false. We only want one to appear at any given time. Oh, yes, it is false already, but this ensures us that we can use this particular code later when we're actually working with this. Okay, that works out fine. Now, look at our form again. When we hit continue, what does it tell us? The operations button tells us that it is going to press the operations button to display an answer. Once we do that, we press continue, and continue should reverse that for us. So let's go ahead and go back to this code where we just were in the start button. Copy these guys. Do a Control C. Go to our continue button, which is doing all this stuff, and lay this in here. That we want to make the instructions button false, and the second one true. Just reverse order. And let's see if this looks good. Bring up our program, enter a number to generate. We get the start in there. We'll go ahead and hit enter. There's our 2, 3. Press the operations button to display an answer. That sounds good. We'll do a plus. Continue. It didn't switch this. It needs to switch this. So every one of these needs to do that switch. Every button here needs to do that switch here. So it's not the continue button. So let's stop this. Let's take our code out of the continue button. We're probably going to want to change these back. Control C. Go to these buttons right here. And under here, we're going to place this. And this. And this. And this. And now we'll do a file save. And do a run. Generate another number. Start. Do a plus. Press continue for a new set of numbers. That looks good. Now I hit the continue button. And it does a 5-0. And now it needs to reverse this. The continue button needs to actually reverse this. So it will say operations button. So let's go ahead and clear that up. Go to our continue button. And reverse these two. Takes a little bit of playing around to get this all correct. So you want it to run smoothly for the user. Now let's go ahead and try this. Do a plus. Continue shows up. Press continue for new set of numbers. Go press continue. Bang. 3, 6 pops up. I can do a minus in here. Press continue gives you a -3. That's nice. Press continue for a new set of numbers. I'll hit click on this thing. Actually, it's not making the continue button disappear. We need to make that disappear each time. So let's find out when that should disappear. This is working fine. But I kind of like to not have this continue button here as this thing operates. Because we get our 6, do a continue. But as soon as I press the continue, I probably want to turn it off. And then let the continue button be turned on by the operation buttons. Do they? We look at the operation buttons. They do turn the button visible. So I think what I want to do in my continue button is once I've executed the continue, I want to turn it off. So let's go ahead and say btn continue dot visible is equal to false. Do a file save. Do our run. And we get our 10 there. Continue goes off, disappears, press the operations button for an answer. 13. Yep, that's right. Good. Press this. Bang. That works out fine. Great. Super. It works real good. Much better. This is looking professional. But we are still not completely done. Division by 0. That's an illegal. And right now we have nothing to prevent our random number generator from generating a 0 in the divisor. We need to prevent that. Time to revisit try catch. Here's how you go about doing that. I'm going to keep on going here and generating new numbers. until we get a division by 0. Won't take long since I've only got 10 as my test, so I'll go ahead and do this. Continue, or maybe it will. There's the 0. Okay, we're going to do division by 0 now, and also we're also showing our remainders, still showing or not. This is making it disappear. So let's go ahead and check this out. And notice I got an error. It doesn't like that because we're actually dividing by 0, and we can't do that. So we're going to have to put some kind of a mechanism in here to make this work. So that'll require a try catch. The only error that's going to pop up in the division is a division by 0. So let's fix this. So if I look at my divide, I need to actually continue to get out of here. I've got my continue routine sitting right here. I'm going to need to create a try catch in this thing. So what I'm going to do is right away is I'm going to go ahead and space this down and type in the try with its braces. And then I'm going to put the catch in right away with its braces. Then I'm going to take what I've got in here and move this into the try part. This is what I want to try. And if it works, that's fine. Everything is going to be just perfect right in here. But the catch piece, I wanted to say something. So I'm going to say right here that message box dot show, and I'll simply say division by 0. Cannot compute. And put a semicolon after this thing. Then what I want to do is I want to basically take my button continue and make its visible property equal to true. I also want to clear off my LBL instructions. This one visible, this one's going to be false, and this one instruction 2 is going to be equal to true. That's going to work out fine. And we also want to say our remainder piece, LBL remainder, that's having a problem. Remainder dot visible is equal to false. Oh, I can't spell. And LBL remainder 2 equal to false. And that should do it for us right there. So that's going to create that little thing here. Also, I want to take that remainder piece and I want to lay it up in here as well. No, I don't. I want to leave it alone. But I want to change it when I come out of, when I actually do a continue, that it erases that. So let's go ahead and go to our continue button. Let's grab this right here. Down those remainders, because remainders turning on here, right? Yeah, it's turning on here. We only want it to turn on when we're actually doing a division. But we want it to be off when we do any other operations. So I'll do a Control C here. And I'm going to jump to my continue button, because that's what you do next. And my continue button could actually go ahead and turn them off. Let's put it right after the instructions. That'll turn off our remainder. Do a file save. Do a start. Do our 10. Do a division. Remainder shows up nicely. Good. Do a continue. Remainder goes off. That's nice. So I can do an add if I wanted to. That works fine. I can do a multiply if I want. And let's do it until we get a division by 0 again to see how that works. So we'll go ahead and do a times, continue. Let's do a division. Remainder 0. Okay, great. That works fine. Division. Division. When you want a 0 to pop up, it doesn't give you a 0. There it is. There's one. Divide. Division by 0 cannot computer. I should say cannot computer. I'll fix that thing up. Okay. Bang. It should clear it off too. It should allow us to do that again. So it's not. It's telling us to continue. So I do want to clear this out. But you can go ahead and do this again. We got our division by 0. Continue again. 10 by 5. Divide. 2. It works out fine. So just about there. I will change that message box, which is in my division button. Cannot compute. Just get rid of the R there, and we're going in good shape there. That puts us in fine shape. Save all. I want to go ahead and give this thing a title. I'm going to pretty this up by putting a nice label up on top here. We could probably use this one. Put it up on top and call it flashcards. And make it larger by changing the font. Let's try a 30. That looks okay. Put that up on top like this. And we're looking in good shape. The only thing we have to do now is the clear button. When running this program, you can remember we're starting out by saying 10 or something of that nature, but you can certainly say a different number when you actually create this. And should you want to do that, rather than getting out of the program, it'd be nice to hit the clear button to wipe everything out here and allow us to start over again with the start button here. And that's exactly what this start button, this clear button needs to do. So let's get out here and fix up this clear button real quickly and make that thing work. So we'll go into the clear button, and it's got a nice name on here, so it's all set to go. What do we want to do? There's a number of things we want to do. One of them is we want to clear everything off of the want to clear what we have in the text boxes coming in. So we can probably steal a lot of code from in here. This piece right here is going to be perfect for that. We'll grab this, and that's going to clear out. Clear entry and answer. That does that nicely. We're also going to want to do a few other things. We're going to want to disable the buttons, the add buttons, and so let's go ahead and do that. Disable operation buttons. And we do that by simply saying btn add dot enabled is equal to false. btn subtract enables equals false. btn multiply enable equals false, and btn divide enabled equals false. We also want to set the remainder false, so the visibility was gone there. I think we've got that right up here. We can just grab these and place it right in here. So that fixes that little piece. Now we want to turn on the start mechanism. And we do that by simply saying that LBL max number dot visible is equal to true. LBL max TXT max number dot visible is equal to true. Button start dot visible is equal to true. Kind of turning all this on. Button continue dot visible is equal to false. Turn that guy off. btn or I'm sorry, text. TXT max number dot text is equal to quote quote. We want to make that thing nothing in it, so we can actually enter something in there. We also want to say that LBL instructions dot visible is equal to false. And LBL instructions 2 dot visible is equal to false. And that should do it for us. File save, save all, do a start. Program comes up. We'll go with the 10 initially. There's our 8 plus 1. We can do a plus. And we'll do a continue. That seems to work fine. We'll do a multiply. That seems to work fine. Now we want to try some larger numbers. So we'll hit the clear. That's going to allow us to enter 100. Do that and we start generating 2-digit numbers in here. We can do the adds here. Everything seems to work the same. We can do a divide here. Ew, that didn't seem to work right. Remainder equals 0. That's 0 divided by... Yeah, but there's nothing left up here. That's correct. Okay. Do it again. Do a divide. 72. That's correct. Good. Okay. Division is always a little weird looking. 46 goes to 94 twice with the remainder of 2. That's about right. 92. Yep, that's about right. We can continue on it. And we can do, look at both the same numbers here. We can add them together. Continue. And we can do a subtraction, and that works out as well. So it seems to be working just fine at this point in time. We can do our clear again, up to 1,000. And we get some larger numbers here. Do those up so we can kind of test anything we would like in here and make this thing work. And we can exit out. So it seems to work just about right at this point in time. You notice that we can also do, all the functions work. Add works, you could even subtract in the same element here. Multiply those two together and you get this, and division works as well, so you can find out what you actually have there. And you can hit, or you can do the add again and see what it is. Then you hit continue and it wipes everything out and creates some brand new ones. So this is our flashcard generator. It's not working. Quite a bit is required though, besides the math, just to make it look good for the user so it works functionally. And it gives them a good set of instructions. When I come into this thing, I hit clear. I know that I have to enter a maximum number to generate. So I'll do that and hit a 50 in there and I'll do a start. It disappears. It tells me press the operation button to display an answer. Okay, operation button must be one of these guys. Hit click on there. Yes, it does. It then says press continue for a new set of numbers. So I'm getting some instructions to follow this thing along. So you're leading your user along. You're having that person understand what has to go on in order to make this thing work. So that makes your app work. And this is a completed app. That's it. Sweet. This program is ready for users. We can put this on the market, sell it for a few gazillion dollars, and retire in luxury. Well, maybe not. But this is our first application, and it's complete. And it goes way beyond simple coding, way beyond. What you need to take out of this video is 1. Testing, testing, testing. Every little thing you do and you change needs to be tested before you go on. Number 2, unforeseen errors. Division by 0 is something we may not have thought of. Good for testing. That'll find it out for us. 3, user testing. Get your application in the hands of someone who doesn't know it. Let them give it a go. Watch what they do. You'll discover dozens of things you didn't even think of that they'll do. Now, I will confess that this application can be written with less code. But up to now, we have only learned a small portion of what you can do with a programming language. And with that little we've learned so far, it's pretty impressive we can build a useful application with that knowledge. In the future, we're going to learn how programming language can make decisions. That's going to open a huge door for us. Our programs will become more sophisticated. See you next time. Thanks for watching. If you get a chance, please subscribe. We'll see you in the next video. Take care.